Hey guys, KingBars06 here, back with another video. In this video, I'll be showcasing a Speedpaint Padme Amidala from Star Wars Attack of the Clones. In this video, I'll go over the process of this drawing and my general opinion on Star Wars Episodes 1 through 3. Alright, you guys already know the deal, so first let me just go over the sketch. So I had this random idea after watching some Star Wars, which I'll talk about in the next section. So off screen, I've been practicing back few drawings, and I've been overall practicing my anatomy of the arms, the legs, just everything, so I can improve my general drawing skills and my general anatomical knowledge. I don't know the names of the majority of the muscles, nor do I really care. I just need to visually know what they look like when they're bent, when they're straight, and so forth. Because at the end of the day, my art is primarily visual. It might have some other effects, but it's primarily just a visual thing. So I was inspired by Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones, to create some kind of drawing of Padme Amidala, because I liked the look when her clothing was ripped on Geonosis, which is the planet in which Obi-Wan was captured. Once I got started, there was no stopping me. It took me time after the sketch to decide on the background. That's after I completely finished the sketch. Everything just went really well with the drawing, and the sketch I do a slightly different process. Rather than using the pen fade tool to rough out the colors and rough out the coloring and have it all kind of unorganized and just loose, I decided to make a mask, a more accurate mask, not completely, but a more accurate mask, and then I would just color it. I would just do the flats, and then I would do the lighting. I wouldn't do the shading. I would say that for the final drawing, if I so chose to do it. And this is just a draft, honestly. I don't really think I referenced the lighting that I did on this sketch when I actually made the final drawing. So from here, I can just pick the colors straight from here if I so choose for the final drawing. So it does have some benefits in terms of the final work, but if I don't intend on finalizing it, it does look a lot cleaner than the sketches that you guys are used to seeing. So now we're going to get into the final drawing, and we're going to focus on the background first. As you guys know by now, the background is the first thing I focus on when I do a drawing straight from a sketch, because since I already have the sketch, all I have to do really is worry about the line art, and in that stage I just need to make some adjustments. But with the background, I wanted it to look like she was on Geonosis, the planet in which Obi-Wan was rescued by the other Jedi. Colorized, I definitely could have made the place more orange than yellow to actually represent the planet properly. I even used color layers to change the color of the rocks to make sure it was matching the color I was going for. I had a reference on the right that you guys may see right now, or you'll see later, that I used. So yeah, I definitely could have made it a lot warmer, made the sky just maybe a little darker, maybe less saturation. The line art was mostly straightforward. The toughest challenge was the blaster. The references I found didn't have the perspective I was looking for, so I had to look at the references and imagine what it would look like from the bottom. I know I didn't do it perfectly. I also know that I didn't want to overthink it, knowing that the gun was small in comparison to the canvas as a whole, so I didn't want to spend too much time on something that someone's barely going to see unless they zoom in. As long as I can get the general idea, that's really all I need. And I'm pretty sure anyone looking would be able to tell that at the very least she is holding a weapon, some kind of gun, which blasters are guns. They just shoot laser bullets rather than standard metal bullets in real life. So once I got the liner done for that part, I just can continue with the rest. I made slight adjustments when I felt it was necessary. I added the scars that Padme had in the original movie, and I was still referencing a Kai Riot, making sure to emphasize the line art even more than I did in the previous speed paint, making the outline thicker and having the inner parts of the hair, things like that, be thinner. I want to make sure that there are clearly areas that stand out, and then there are areas that don't. I didn't do the colored line art in this one like I did for the Nedre one, because I think for the most part, I want to stick with one color, but I might experiment with changing up the line art color. Maybe make it red and blue, or like red and purple, put it on a multiply layer, so I don't necessarily have to change the line art color for each section, and the multiply layer will just do the work for me, essentially. But we'll see. And I paid special attention to how I shaded the drawing in terms of the shapes and how much shading. I didn't want to overdo it, but I also wanted to emphasize certain parts. I used a purple like I did in the Eiju Blacka one, because I thought before I used to use red, and I think the red for the shading was just a little too dull. I think it's better to use a cool color for shading, especially if the base colors are warmer and you have a warmer environment. And I'll save the warmer shading for a cooler environment, so there's a little more contrast between the background and the foreground, or the character in the background, so she stands out a little more. I did the same hard light layer to make things look just that much better. Originally, I was going to go over all 9 current episodes of Star Wars outside of the special stuff like Solo Star Wars Story, Rogue One, because I haven't seen those. I was going to go over everything, but in writing the script, I thought that what I was talking about in terms of episode 1 and 3, the stuff that I have down, would be enough for the section, and I can go over 4 through 6 in a different section, and I can go through 7 through 9. So before I start going over episodes 1 through 3, I just wanted to say, out of the 9, I think episode 6 is by far my favorite. I remember the I'm Your Father scene quite differently from episode 5, but that could be because on YouTube there's a guy who did a Darth Vader rap, and the way he did the Luke, I'm Your Father is different from the original movie, so that's probably why I didn't remember it. As a kid, I did watch Star Wars, but I don't think I watched all 6 episodes. If I did, I just didn't really have much of a recollection. I knew the major stuff: Anakin turned into Darth Vader, he was the chosen one, yada yada yada. So episode 1, in my opinion, was pretty mid. I feel like the pacing was too slow. The fight against Darth Maul was pretty cool though, in terms of visual effects, and does a pretty good job briefly introducing the Jedi and the Sith, the movie as a whole, and that fight, and what the Jedi truly stand for. I just feel like more could have been done, honestly. It was just mainly the race, the one guy sabotaged Anakin's speedster, or whatever that thing's called. Anakin still won by using the Force because he has more midi-chlorians, which apparently correlates to how powerful a Jedi or a Sith can be, because the midi-chlorians allow people to use the Force, yada yada yada. Episodes 2 and 3, in comparison, I think are just better and have more of a build-up in terms of just general plot and actually make things more interesting. In episode 1, it's extremely obvious to me that Anakin has feelings for Padme. It's also stated in the end because Anakin has worry for his mother, and he has fear that he's just not fit to be a Jedi. And in episode 2, that's even more clear because Anakin starts to defy Obi-Wan, his master. Obi-Wan wasn't initially willing to take Anakin on as an apprentice, but Qui-Gon, who was played by Liam Neeson, by the way, his dying wish was for him to do that. And speaking of Anakin's feelings for Padme, in episode 2, I think the love that they have for each other is way more apparent, especially considering Padme literally admits it. At first, Padme and Anakin are kind of against the idea because Anakin's trying to be a Jedi and Padme is a political leader, and this simply can't work out. But when Padme and Anakin are about to be executed on Geonosis, Padme admits that she can't really hide her feelings, and in the end of episode 2, they get married. And in episode 3, it's revealed early on that Padme is pregnant. Not at the time, they didn't know it was twins, but they were twins. One being Luke Skywalker, and then the other one would be named Leia Organa because she'd be raised by Senator Organa on, I forget, I don't even know what the planet's called, but whatever the planet's called gets blown up in episode 4 by Darth Vader. And Anakin has these dreams. In episode 2, he has dreams of his mother. he has dreams relating to her eventual death. That's why he goes back to Tatooine in order to save his mother, but by that time it's too late. He lashes out, kills all the men who captured her, he kills the women, and then for some reason he kills the children, even though they probably had nothing to do with it. And you could argue and say that the women had nothing to do with it either, which was the first time Anakin lashed out and showed his anger, and you could see why Mace Windu, Yoda, and the other Jedi were against him being trained. But Obi-Wan was very, very defiant in that regard, because he specifically told Yoda without the Jedi's approval he would train Anakin. And maybe that ended up being a bad decision on Obi-Wan's part, especially considering Obi-Wan himself, again, wasn't initially into the idea. So in these dreams, in episode 3, Anakin dreams of Padme dying during childbirth, which does end up happening at the end of the movie. Because of his desperation to prevent Padme's death, because she's the one that he loves, he kind of lashes out. He listens to Palpatine. Palpatine's able to manipulate him, because he talks about how there's a Sith who had the power to prevent death, but ironically his son, who he passed on these techniques to, killed him, and that leads to Anakin betraying Mace Windu, cutting off his right arm, preventing him from taking care of Palpatine properly. And then this leads to the birth of Darth Vader, which leads to Anakin killing all the Jedi children, and the clone troopers killing the majority of the Jedi, the only one surviving the attack being Obi-Wan and Yoda. And then on the one planet, which I don't remember the name of the planet, but it's like basically a lava planet, Padme meets up with Anakin. Anakin kind of turns on her, almost kills her by choking her, because his mind is twisted, and because Padme is against what Anakin's currently doing, Anakin thinks that she's against him, and he thinks everything he's doing is all hunky-dory, which leads to Obi-Wan having to be the one to take care of him, and by take care of him I mean kill. The two fight, and the funny thing about this fight is how Obi-Wan's like, Anakin, it's over. I got the high ground. Anakin doesn't care. Obi-Wan ends up winning, and it just reminds me of Fortnite. For those of you who've been on the channel, you know I've played a lot of Fortnite. I've uploaded a lot of Fortnite highlights. I'm familiar with the idea of taking the high ground in that game. I don't know how the game is currently. I know there was a point in the game where like there's limited stamina, so there's like a stamina bar. So it was just funny to hear Obi-Wan talk about that. And yeah, I definitely enjoyed episodes 2 and 3 over episode 1. And I'll save talk for episodes 4 through 9 for another time. I'll probably split it up 4 through 6 and then 7 through 9. Thank you guys for watching this video. Please be sure to subscribe, turn on notifications, check out my Twitter and Discord, both are in the description. If you want to know what I'm currently doing or thinking about, those two places are the best places to go. I will see you guys next time.